Welcome to Tea Trail. I'm your host, T Rad, and on today's episode of Tea Trail, I'm going to be discussing how I perceive the Bible and television and Facebook to be beautiful things which are controlled and edited by some not so great people. And I suppose this is part of my journey of coming off Facebook. To what degree, I'm still not sure. I'll still host pages. I still recognise it as a valuable tool. But I just don't enjoy the energy anymore. So let's step back in time. And not so long ago, I had the idea or the notion that the Bible was in many ways what the TV is to us today. So obviously a collection of stories. Some would say it's the most incomplete works there is because so much has been left out. It's a beautiful thing, right? And when you learn how to read it allegorically, when you can appreciate what the meanings of the writings are, then it becomes a metaphysical guidebook to our bodies and what we are capable of when we recognize the kingdom within. So the one that got me really was how the Bible is similar to the TV. So back in 1800, 1850, I'm not sure when King James did his translation, and that was the start of like major printing. Gutenberg, I think it is, the Gutenberg era, when that book came off the printing shelves just like crazy, hey? And it was distributed like wildfire certainly amongst people in England, and then Wales, Scotland. And the language it was written in was a language which wasn't recognisable by common folk, if you will. So they had to go and have it translated into a language that could be more easily understood by priests and other clergymen within the church on a Sunday. But we had one, and family Bibles were, a thing, and it's this huge tome of just beautiful illustrations. And imagining people growing up back in the 1800s without electricity, maybe with just candles, or the invention of oil and gas lamps, those illustrations and those stories would have been just an incredible meeting point for the family to kind of sit around and be a family unit, to kind of marvel at the stories. And they are incredibly well written. So that would have been very much what we focus on grows, right? So all of those people focusing on those stories would have created a reality around those words and around the visions that the publishing house would have had. So like I say, a lot of the stories that go into the Bible were written by initiates, enlightened souls who walked and served alongside Jesus, who himself was an ascended master, an enlightened being. I don't know what density Jesus rested at, but it was certainly higher than the sixth. Jesus would have been to the Egyptian finishing schools, the pyramids, where he would have gone through rigorous training of well-being, both spiritually, mentally and physically, to cleanse himself and purify himself and to become one with the Holy Spirit. And he would have taught that to his disciples and other close members of his tribe, of his crew. And a lot of those people were then the ones who wrote the Gospels. So they had to write in a way which others were unaware of the direction in which they were pointing. And that direction was to enlightenment. So a lot of the places named in the Bible are in reference to locations in the body. When it says enter from the east, that means the feminine side of the brain. So serpents and trees and bolts of lightning refer to our spinal column and the rising of the Christos, the oil, from our root chakra up through our spinal column, and then into our cerebellum and surrounding our pineal gland. And that is part of the process and the melding of the two hemispheres of the brain together. So to the vast majority of laymen, the Bible was and is a beautiful collection of stories revolving around Jesus and his adventures. So I guess that's quite a nice one to point out. Pretty much all of the fairy tales that we've grown up with are also allegorical signposts to that which is possible when we seek the kingdom within, when we recognise that thy body is the kingdom of heaven. So moving on from the Bible, mate, to more modern times and TV. TV, as far as I'm aware, was like maybe 1950s, 1960s it came out. And moving on from the radio, which I don't know too much about, and the Bible, it then became the central meeting place within the house for families to gather around. And this was well recognised by the people that brought us the TV. The BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation, was owned and run by the monarchy. A lot of what was broadcast was like the pomp and regalia and the high classness of the ruling elite. So over time, and then with the invention of public relations, and I forget his name, the TV more and more became a tool of manipulation. And well, we'd only have to look at the news, hey, and how there are 6 corporations that own all of the media outlets within the world, and that common narrative that is delivered to us through the news channels And we see the lines that are used repeated over and over and over through all of the different news channels. So the TV, alongside the messages that come through, there's also subliminal messaging, which happens behind. The waves, or sitting in front of a TV, causes our brains to slow down to a delta state, which opens us up to the information which is being relayed, which means we soak that in just like sponges. And when that news is consistently bad and consistently construed or misstrewn to suit those in the ruling elite, to keep us within a state of fear and disembodiment from the whole, which is humanity, we really take that on. And so in that state of fear, we find it hard to ease into a state of wellness, and it keeps us continually perpetuating the control patterns which have happened throughout the years. So much has come from TV, like in a good sense, and it's that balance, I suppose, between using it as a tool of discovery and a tool of enslavement. Some great inventions came around, like BBC iPlayer and all of those other things, which enabled us then to choose what we watched and at what time we watched those things. So the internet has just opened up so many beautiful avenues for us, by way of learning and sharing our own experiences with our loved ones and everyone across the globe, right? So on a cellular level, the cells within our body are always communicating to each other, and that constant passing of information is vital for us to maintain healthy bodies, as passing of information is on the cell or self level of humanity. So sharing information and our stories is vital. And that's where I kind of recognize that Facebook has, through various means of control, different stories within the media, and a whole lot of advertising turned from a place of open sharing into a controlled environment. So for me, and on Facebook, and I love Jesus' teaching that, love thy neighbour. So the TV moved us into a world of international inclusion. We became aware of places in the world which beforehand we didn't know about, which on one hand, amazing, right? So we get to see David Attenborough shows and wildlife and how different people live in different places. So that really opened us up to the huge spectrum and variety of life which the world holds, and that is just an incredible thing. But it also enabled those who control by fear to constantly focus on areas which would cause us concern and unrest, and it would make us feel helpless in that which we can do. And the best thing I can do is love thy neighbours and spread my love to those around me, and within that alchemical process of helping, sharing and being the light, then my immediate area changes, and I can see that, hey, it's palpable, as opposed to tuning into social media. But there are great things happening at the moment, and I've seen numerous stories about the global currency reset, which is well and truly, I believe it's happened. It might not be portrayed within the mainstream media. There are lots and lots of arrests happening at a high level at the moment amongst the cabal and high-serving people within government. We are in a great time of change, and one I think which highlights that quite well is Infowars, that Alex, I forget his name, but being banned from YouTube and Facebook and other places. So when they start banning things, that's really the end of the road for the media and the corporations and the cabal. So for me, as a sharing platform, and this is where I'll start doing more of mine, and I'm looking forward to bringing more, because we all need to share. And YouTube, even in its name, the universal TV, allows us to share our heartfelt messages and the lessons we've learned, and that which we'd like to share to the rest of the world in a more open environment. So for me, going onto YouTube, it's a lot easier to choose that which we would like to see, as opposed to going on to Facebook, which is like almost like an all-you-can-eat buffet scrolling through. There's just so much. For me, on YouTube, you can actually decide what you want on your plate. On Facebook, there's a whole lot more room for manipulation, whereas on a recorded message, I believe it's harder to go about changing anything. So there's some of my views on kind of the methods of control and manipulation that we've experienced throughout the years. Consciousness is rising, hey? So the books that were written are now being read and understood in a way that they always were meant to be. So many people are turning off their TVs. Lots of people are moving away from Facebook. And the amount of change we're seeing at the moment is just incredible. So with that rising consciousness, we're learning that which we've learned through the ages we've passed is now just having to be put aside, and the books are being rewritten. So it's a super exciting time to be around. There you go. I think that's about it. If you guys would like to add anything, or you think I've missed anything, then please comment below. I'd appreciate it if you liked this video or gave it a share. Hit the subscribe button. If I can be of any assistance, please feel free to get in touch. And other than that, I hope you're all well. I hope you're all loving what you're doing, and I hope you're all loving yourselves. You are incredible. So I've been T-Rad, and this is T-Trail, Nature's TV. We look forward to seeing you out on the trail soon. Alright, peace.